What's up, guys? Welcome to the Squanch. This is Wisecrack's Rick and Morty podcast. I'm Michael Burns, joined by the Squanchers. We got Ryan Haley.
Wubba lubba three-way, everyone. How's it going? It's Ryan from the Squanch. I'm so happy to be here.
That was so enthusiastic. And we have special guest this time, first-time Squancher, Sean Godsey. Sean, how are you tonight?
Wow, I'm great. And hello, everyone out there in the world.
Yeah, if you see that face and think you might have seen it before, Sean was a guest on a Wisecrack show talking about BoJack Horseman before. So you might have seen this guy's face. But more important than our faces, Season 5 of Rick and Morty officially started tonight. We had episode 1. It was Rick and Morty Day, June 20th. The episode title was Mort Dinner, Rick Andre, which, of course, is some allusion to the movie My Dinner with Andre. I was hoping there'd be some real deep homage to the film, but I guess Harmon's already done that in Community. So before we get into it, let's just do first impressions. This is we've been waiting for this for a while. I'll start with you, Ryan. First impressions, season 5, episode 1. What do you think?
Well, okay. The beginning of the show got off to a big rocky start, I would say. Nimbus shows up. Well, okay, the opening when they actually are flying into Earth, that was pretty cool looking. I was like, all right, animators have been working good. The first episode graphics are pretty sweet. However, when Nimbus shows up and everything for the first, I'd say 8 minutes, I'm kind of not laughing at all, really kind of judging the episode going, fuck. This kind of sucks for the beginning of the season, in my opinion. But then once we get to Hoovy, I think that's his name, right? Hoovy?
Yes, Hoovy.
Yeah, that entire sequence until basically the end of the episode was gold. And so I'm going to give this, it was like an Al Pacino and Godfather. They brought me back in at the end. And now I'm a big fan of this episode. Fucking B minus A or B plus A minus. I'm going to give it
that's
for
pretty
first
good.
go. I mean, solid. I thought the whole Hoovy thing was great. Classic Rick and Morty.
Well, friends, you can learn. It's not how you start things; it's how you end things that people remember. So,
amen.
Get that.
Yeah, leave them one more.
Yeah. Sean Godsey, what do you think about this episode? What were your thoughts?
I liked it. I thought it was great. I thought it was pretty funny throughout. It made me remember why I like Rick and Morty. I haven't watched it in a while. I don't think I've watched it since the last season ended. I haven't been watching it in between or anything. Yeah, I thought it was strong. They had a lot of stuff going on. I feel like this is an episode where it's I'd love to see the script for this just because it was so dense. And it's they're really great at just pumping through so much stuff in a minute. They'll give you so much information. And then I thought there's some really good jokes in there. I liked it. I thought it was strong. And I thought it was also weirdly kind of even though it was a complex episode, kind of simple for Rick and Morty in a way. It felt kind of a simple at-home episode, even though there was all this other insane stuff going on. So I liked it.
Yeah, what would you give it, just because Ryan got the ball rolling, grade-wise?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd say A minus.
Okay. I would also like to add that Nimbus even brought me back in. I like Nimbus by the end of this episode, especially with all the pelvic thrusting, and he grew on me by the end,
Yeah, I did see a tweet from one of the writers earlier today saying that they were going to introduce a character that they've been wanting to introduce for a while, that the writers had a fun time developing. I assume that's Nimbus. I think I in general agree with you guys. At first, I was excited that they were back. So first minute of the show, just excited to be here. Felt a little bit of that lag, but once we get the Narnia thing, and we get Hoovy and the wine and everything they did there was incredible. And every time Morty would go through the door, it was just introducing and building out a whole new world, something that could have been an episode unto itself. Yeah. And I kind of dug the recklessness, how they were we're going to build this entire thing for 30 seconds in one joke. And I kind of dug it.
Absolutely. And kind of Sean was just saying, being classic Rick and Morty or whatever, I like how, they were building these whole worlds and but the meta narrative is just, there's the overarching narrative is they just need wine. They need 100%. Wine for a party, but this entire fucking futuristic world gets built out of that.
Who hasn't been there?
Great concept.
All right. Well, before we go deeper, let's do a quick rundown summary of the episode, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into what went down. So the episode, once again, Rick and Morty season 5, episode 1, Mort Dinner Rick Andre. We open with Morty carrying a dying Rick on a planet full of crystals that seem to show them alternate adventures. On the way down on a crash landing to Earth, Morty decides to call Jessica to confess his feelings because he thinks he's about to die. But she kind of digs it, wants to go on a date. So this gives Morty a resolve to live. Crash lands. Everything seems great, except they piss off Mr. Nimbus, who we learn is Rick's nemesis, by getting in his territory, which is the ocean. So then we get to the main part of the episode. We have two things happening. Nimbus comes over for a little peace treaty meeting with Rick. Jessica comes over for a little date and a hang with Morty, and everything goes bad. Nimbus needs wine, so they put it in a magical door that has Narnia powers. This then leads Morty to piss off a family that then evolves into a civilization oriented around the destruction of Morty because of his every third generational terrorizing of these people. We see it go from a sort of, feudal medieval society to a full-on Game of Thrones Northern Wall situation, and then we get very futuristic with it. All the while, Rick is trying to hammer out a deal with Mr. Nimbus, while Summer, and we can talk about this later, Summer is working for Rick, trying to get the shell from the Marianas Trench, which gives him power. And then all along, Beth and Jerry are just exploring their new sex positivity because, as they remind us 8 times in the episode, we watch porn now. Big problems happen when Jessica gets sucked through the magical Narnia door. She is then suspended for however many years, hundreds of thousands. Morty and Rick eventually get sucked in as well. It seems really bad. The Hoovies are going to take them out, except for Mr. Nimbus comes and uses water to save the day. They're all back home. Everything seems well and good. Morty's ready to get back to his date, but Jessica has become a time god and no longer has an interest in a romantic relationship with Morty. At the very end, Mr. Nimbus gets Rick arrested because, as we'll talk about later, Mr. Nimbus controls the police. And in our final moment after the credits, Beth and Jerry show up at Nimbus's apartment. Well, why is that? To fuck him in a 3-way, because Mr. Nimbus lets them know early on that he was invited to a 3-way with them. So that's the episode.
His secretary.
Yes, the secretary. Yes. So that's the episode. And best summary I can give you considering it ended 20 minutes ago. So let's get right into it. Let's start with Sean.
Good job.
It's surreal hearing you recap something that I just watched like 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good job for that.
Yeah.
Well, let's have you start with this. Mr. Nimbus, the character that the writers were excited to give to us, a character who I think we all might have gone from not being so sure about to liking a lot by the end of it. I'll start with Sean Godsey. What was your take on Mr. Nimbus in this episode?
I will say from the previews, I feel like they advertised Mr. Nimbus hard in all their Rick and Morty previews, because they previewed Rick and Morty pretty early, even like animatic form. So for the past year, I've seen Mr. Nimbus, and I always thought he seemed annoying and not funny, and I would say I didn't like him from the teasers, but I loved him. He was so funny. Also, the name Mr. Nimbus is funny. It's funny that he's Mr. Nimbus and his catchphrase is like he controls the police. And I think it's really funny that, because at first I thought that he controls the police, like he's a powerful guy. He has his fingers in the government. But that's his power is that he can, he's also a god of the ocean, but he also controls the police with his mind. I think it's a very funny line. He's Mr. Nimbus controls the police, and that's said over and over, which I think it's funny every time, and it's really funny at the end when it's and he really shouted at Summer that he's Mr. Nimbus. Of course, he controls police, and I think he was very funny. I thought it was funny that he was a joke the whole time. They get into a little bit of the seriousness of him later, which I feel like I didn't care as much about. He was Rick's only friend at one point. I don't know. I feel like when Rick and Morty goes into the territory of Rick is so sad, it's fine, whatever. I guess I don't care about that part of Rick and Morty as much. I more care about that it's a funny show. I think if I was younger, maybe be more into that side of it of the fuck the world, I'm so depressed side. But I went off on a tangent. But listen, love Mr. Nimbus, very funny character.
Yeah, I did love the 3 Fs that the police fight, fuck, and flee. Such that when Jessica walks up, she was like, I think I just saw those cops fucking each other.
Yeah.
And you bring that point too, where they kind of flirted with backstory. When Nimbus brought up that he's sad and old, brings up Diane, and Rick says something like, don't bring up, established canonical backstory with me, which is one of the few.
I thought was funny.
Yeah, one of the few little meta moments there. Ryan, what did you think about our bud Nimbus?
Well, kind of like I said at the beginning, like at first I kind of agree with you. I didn't think he was that funny just in general. And then, but the I loved what you were alluding to with the Diane line, how it's almost like every line that he was saying was building up an entire narrative that we have missed in him and Rick's backstory. So this whole, it's like they really leaned into, we're going to deconstruct what an arch nemesis is, and essentially like, okay, this is an arch nemesis. They have all these adventures and stories where they've gone back and forth and crisscross each other, and they know each other's weaknesses and strengths. And so by the end of it, I kind of warmed up to what they were doing with him. I just at the beginning didn't think that was that funny of a character, and on top of that, it was weird to me that we never saw him battling Rick or anything. We never saw that, but that was part of the gag, was just that this is like the lead up. This is just an arch nemesis and, our protagonist having a good old negotiation, which is of course what we've always seen, arch nemesis do throughout whatever, James Bond and stuff. No, but that never happened. So I guess, that's the gag they were doing. And it kind of, like I said, warmed up by the end of the show. Even though I hope that we get to see him again. I hope this isn't just a one-off. I hope that we get to see him controlling the police and actually him fighting Rick at some point. Although if we don't, who gives a shit?
I was wondering that because, he's still at the house when Rick gets carted away by the police, whom he controls. We know that Beth and Jerry went to get double banged by him. I don't know, they built him up a lot. And it is just a fun move to introduce Rick's arch nemesis in season 5.
Right, yeah,
that's true.
Of course. And we've never been to the ocean before. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're sitting at the table talking. And I think Sean, you had brought up this point when we were giving our first impressions too. I kind of appreciated the at-home episode. I kind of like the constrained world of that, except for the fact, of course, that there was a Narnia door.
And the day with Jessica going on at the same time. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll get into.
Pivotal moment in that way, of course. Morty had his first kiss with Jessica.
Holy shit! I know, it was everything.
That's right. That was a big moment.
Yeah. What did we think about that? Because I was a little shocked initially when Jessica's just like, "Yeah, let's have a date," and then Jessica's just like, "Where's the wine?" Jessica really had this wild side. I don't know if we've seen that much before. So,
like 14 or something, right?
Yeah, but interesting how pivotal this was, and we just get it in the first episode. The thing that Morty has longed for more than anything else. He got his date with Jessica, and he got a kiss.
It's interesting, the character Jessica, because I feel like Rick and Morty's always commenting on like what they're doing, but so I'm sure they've commented on this the whole time. But it is weird that she's just this kind of like sex object character, and like her arc at the beginning of the episode is like she's horny, but also it's like her whole character before that is like she doesn't like Morty, and maybe she talks to him sometimes, then all of a sudden she's just like ready to like fuck him or something, and like and then it's like, I don't know, her character is odd to me. I don't know, it's like I get it, I get why you write that character in a show with a 14-year-old boy, he has a crush on this girl, but I don't know, it's strange, I don't know.
Well, I thought it was kind of sweet how, he's about to die. He finally professes his love to Jessica, and then she kind of, takes that in and is like, man, you should have told me. And I feel like that's always the lesson in those situations in cartoons and in real life. It's like, oh man, what if? Why didn't I fucking do that?
Yeah, well, it's a real moment when she says to him like, it's almost selfish to not tell someone your feelings.
Yeah, that was an interesting line too. I kind of had to think about that for a second, but I thought that it was to me, Jessica's a pretty fleshed out, cool character, even though she's the sex object of Morty, but Morty, but she's a fucking apparently horny teenage girl and just wants some wine and a Netflix and chill with Morty while they watch interdimensional cable, which, by the way, the Nintendo 69 ad was incredible.
That was great.
Probably one of the best parts of the episode.
Well, I wanted to stick on this just for 1 second because I know we need to get to the Whovies, but I want to save that until we get through a couple preliminary things, because I think that's where the real meat of the episode might have been. But Jessica's arc in the episode is really interesting because, of course, she gets sucked into the Narnia door by the Whovies, is then suspended in some pink gel. And when she says, when she gets back, she has seen the life of time. She says,
she's a time god.
Yeah, time without purpose is a prison. And then she says, and I think I have this quote down correctly, she says, I have glimpsed into the mind of eternity, perhaps the mind of God, and I've heard silence. And she turns to Morty and says, perhaps we should just be friends. So
exactly.
She has this infinite experience of time, finds that the universe is empty at its core, and her takeaway from that is, I don't think I want to date you anymore.
Yeah, I have better uses for my infinite time than to be with you. I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
Sean?
I thought that was a funny monologue.
Yeah. Is there? I'm trying to think of anything else we should talk to before we open up the Whovies door. I mean, I will say I did enjoy the running bit about Beth and Jerry's sex positivity, and I did find it funny as they increasingly just wanted to tell everyone they watched porn. Their reaction to getting invited to do the three-way was really funny. And, you know, I'm glad Beth and Jerry are doing well. They went through a lot last season, and I'm glad to see that they came out like this.
I thought this episode did a great job of, like, giving everyone something to do. And I feel like every main character, like every family character, had, like, a really funny moment. And, yeah, it just felt like a moment wasn't wasted in this episode. They really, like, started off fast and like kept it fast until the end.
Yeah. Did either of you have a moment where you wondered if we were going to see other Beth, who we were introduced to at the end of season 4? Because I did kind of wonder. Yeah. I know that the show's not known for, you know, plot continuity, but I did wonder if they were going to take that and have both Beths, and seems like we're back to one.
I hope that they keep hinting at that throughout the series. I mean, to me, that's a fun running gag, you know, just for her to always be second questioning herself whether she's the clone or not. But no, I totally did. My friends who I had watched the episode with, I explained to them that whole thing, you know, about how that was kind of the cliffhanger, and I was kind of hoping that we'd see that, but who cares? I'm glad. I liked what we got.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering because they had that one season finale. I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, where it's like the season finale directly led into season 1 of the next episode. Like it was almost a two-parter. So yeah, I was interested to see if they were going to do that this time, and they didn't at all, which is fine.
Well, I think we can probably all agree that the most interesting part of this episode was what Rick called the Narnia thing, which was a magical door that went to a different realm that had the purpose of aging wine, because time moved faster there. Mr. Nimbus likes his vino, so it was established early on, just put this wine on the other side of the Narnia door, let the wine age, and you'll be good. Morty's first time through meets a lovely guy named Hoovy, a real mensch who wanted nothing more than to help him. But as Mr. Hoovy goes into Morty's dimension, then back to his world, his wife is a skeleton in a chair. Time has passed. His grown son murders him. And we've learned that now Morty is the enemy of this group of people. And we see that blossom out over, I think millennia. So did we all really enjoy that theme in the show and that element of the episode?
It's that classic Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny. It does feel very classic Rick and Morty of like you see. It's funny that a classic Rick and Morty thing is like seeing a society grow and crumble is like like a trope, like a well-worn territory for a show. But I loved it. I thought it was so funny and so like, and it's like everything they did. It's like they gave you a mini movie every time they went back. They gave you like a different little movie, and it's like you understood the movie they were telling you, and you kind of like. It's like almost like the joke was like, because it's like the lines they were saying weren't funny, but they were funny because I guess they were so grand, you know, like all the Hoovy species characters. Like, it's not like any of them had great one-liners, but I was laughing throughout because, yeah, it's just like this huge, like this society forming around Morty because he went and got wine. It's great.
I love the one liner that I did love was when he kisses his father on the forehead and is like, "Am I the fool now, father?" You know, and then gets immediately stabbed in the back by the fucking you know,
because that's like the climax of some like
council
action
member.
fantasy movie.
Yeah, and then that guy immediately kills him, then sees Morty, then screams, "Oh no, I was wrong, I was wrong, God is real."
Yeah, that was so funny. He says God's real and he dies.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting too that so this episode was written by Jeff Loveness, who's also the writer of the upcoming Ant-Man film, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Whoa,
so it is interesting
crazy.
that he's currently writing or has written a film that is supposedly going to explore the quantum realm in the MCU that involves a lot of jumping around in places where time moves at different rates, and that this episode had that going on. I do think it was bold as well. Like, you both said kind of classic Rick and Morty stuff, which once again, great that the classic thing is building up an entire civilization to destroy it brutally.
Right.
But it was great that all happened in the B story. That wasn't even the main thrust of the episode. We still kept most things in the house, but then kept dipping into that world. And I don't know, just the way they fleshed it out, the way that all of the specifics of both the world and what people were saying throughout tapped into so many good like points of reference in different genres. And then
did you guys when the moment I saw his wife was pregnant, I knew that he was gonna go through the door, and I felt like heartbroken when he went, because he was such a nice character and he just wanted to help out Morty get his wine, and like it was just so sad because the moment, I feel like I didn't know where it was gonna go like fully, but it was like the moment he steps through that door, like it's going to destroy his whole life. And he's just like, hey, well, here you go, Morty. Like, oh, you're a good kid.
Yeah, the first time it happened, I honestly didn't see it coming, like, until he goes back through, and I'm like, oh, of course, like, all this time passed. And then I thought that was going to be the end of that, but then I was really happy that was the entire episode. And and it was one of those, like, true banality of evil, like, Rick moments where he's just like, sure, this whole, the Narnia door is just to age my wine, and fuck all the rest of these literally millions of people that suffered and went through these thousands of years to make this happen. This is my wine Narnia closet. Fuck you. That's basically Rick and Morty in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, that instrumentalization of planets, galaxies, aspects of the multiverse for the sake of carrying out mundane tasks that make Rick's life easier. Treating the entire multiverse like a Bed Bath and Beyond of sorts.
This big Swiss Army knife where he's like, okay, I'm going to use this civilization for this.
Yeah, and you do see that.
Rick.
Yeah, I mean, I did like something we talked about a little bit on our preview episode was maybe wanting to see glimpses in this season of what do Rick and Morty's antics look like for those outside of their circle. What are the effects of those actions? And I do think they got into that here because we kept seeing the perspective, seeing what was happening without them, seeing the sort of like interdimensional effects of their getting wine. Was just incredible, and I really enjoyed that and thought it was powerful to like see the other side and give that like a little bit of humanity and pathos to those other characters, even though we all knew they were eventually going to be annihilated.
Well, it's funny too because sorry. Well, there was another recent show, Invincible, that kind of they had a character or an enemy that was a similar thing where it's like they went back and then they came back more technological. But so it's just funny to see but that treated it very seriously, and it was like these dark people that were killing. So it was really funny to see that. And so when they did this, it was almost like, oh, like that's funny. There was like this parallel thought thing, but it was, I would say, much, much more fun to see like a comedy version of it. It was like way more fun.
Oh, definitely. And I do hope this isn't the last time this season we get to have that experience of the perspective of those on the other side of Rick and Morty's antics, because I do want to see more of that.
It's funny because every moment that you're there spending time with them, it's just that what's happening is them just doing the stupidest, most everyday life stuff in this 1 hour that they're in their living room, and so it almost makes it funnier. Every second that we're not seeing the family, you're kind of thinking, about what they're doing and how much time is going by in this stuff that we are watching.
Yeah.
Which is relative, man. Flat circle, baby.
Yeah, but it's like a good, like, not to force a theme or anything, but a good meta reminder that, like, in our experience of reality, we are nothing. We are but a speck of sand on a beach full of time and civilizations, and that to whatever higher power or empty throne at the seat of higher power there is, we are just those civilizations that sort of don't matter. And I think there's like a sort of like weird fatalism to that, but that also has a little cheery bright side.
Yeah, there was
it.
One animation moment I want to call out that kind of, it's like this
please
where
do.
it's like these. So when there's this great moment where on the Narnia side of things, there's this character that's being trained to like go kill Morty.
I think it was Adam, right? They called him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam, that's funny. And then there's like this, it's so small. It's like a 2-second moment. I thought it was so cool. And like legit good, like sci-fi, like idea where like there's 3 dog people up in tubes and they die and melt down and their like life goo goes into his suit to power it. And it was like a 2-second moment. And I love that. I thought that was so cool. I thought that would have worked in like a big sci-fi movie. And I think Rick and Morty does that stuff really well too, where it like kind of glosses over these like really cool action sci-fi moments that would belong in like a Marvel movie or a cooler movie or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that was the Adam scene was so cool too. Cause like we see that what for Rick is a random thing you can use to age wine if he needs to, is for this civilization thousands of years of technology and training and military development to make their version of that, all to get corkscrewed in the back by Jessica, who just wants to drink her goddamn wine.
Well, she's a time god now, so everything worked out all right, and she's now living her best life without Morty, so she figured out her shit.
I feel like they'll continue that thread, right? I feel like they're going to continue those little threads.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to see Jessica the time god now? Will we see this play out in the halls of the school in the neighborhood with Morty? You know, we now have another one of our side characters has sort of experienced the cosmic abyss at the heart of all things. Do we think that this is going to linger, or will they just do a hard reset?
I hope it lingers.
Yeah, I assume that Morty is still gonna, his the one he's after is still gonna be Jessica. He's just gonna have to adapt to her being a time god now, and that's probably gonna be hard to take for a while. That's how I see it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he gets a new squeeze.
But also that's just great too. This idea that what for Rick and Morty are this constant string of adventures. Jessica spends one evening at their house and is changed forever.
Right.
One visit to the household, and now she might never be the same person. So yeah, and I do think that's like a lot of this episode. And I think this is because we're doing this right after. I think we're kind of like formulating themes and stuff as we go. But there was a lot of that in this episode. The difference between like facing those consequences, seeing what happens when other people get brought into that like framework versus Rick and Morty and the family who like, whatever, they're just going to pack it up and do it again the next day. And Summer's going to blow the horn and, the shell. And so, and I would love if we continue to see that. One other thing I noticed, curious if y'all have thoughts on this, and this is something we talked about. This was discussed a lot on this podcast for season 4. We talked about this a little bit in the preview episode. That season 4 got very meta, did a lot of self-commentary, was doing much of that. I felt like in this episode we saw a bit of that, but I felt like they didn't hit us over the head with it too much. What did y'all think about like the meta elements and the show commenting on itself or commenting on like show writing in general?
Yeah,
I thought.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead,
Ryan. I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't do that a lot. Not that I don't like that aspect of the show, but I did feel like they kind of overdo it sometimes. But I didn't hear one meta joke. I mean, I'd like to hear which ones you considered meta, but it didn't seem like there was one joke that actually was about the story itself or the writers themselves or the show itself, other than when he says, to Nimbus, like, no non-canon, you're not allowed to add canon to our conversations.
That was one of the two that
bit.
I noticed. Okay. There was that, and then when Morty first rescues Jessica, then gets sucked back through the Narnia door with Rick. They get to whatever the futuristic world is then, and he says, I'm just going to Deus Ex Machina the shit and get us out of here.
Okay, that's another one a little bit too.
Yeah, I like that they didn't. I thought, because there was that one train episode last season that, I felt it was like a little too much. I mean, like they even brought up like the story circle, which Dan Harmon is like kind of famous for, like among like writing nerds or whatever, like, which I am. I thought that was like a bit much. It's like, it was like, oh, this is like a whole meta episode. That kind of, and there are funny moments in the episode, but that did kind of like bum me out. It's like, all right, like I just want to see them like go on an adventure and have fun. Like I don't really need to see them comment on why their adventure is fun or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, I thought like a line or two per episode is great. I did laugh at the line, the canonical line. I thought was funny. Yeah, so I'm a fan of them not doing that, except for. Yeah, maybe at the end. I think throwing something in at the end is always funny. But yeah, I'm glad that wasn't pressed on too much.
Yeah. So any other general thoughts that either of y'all have from this episode? I know we're jumping around a little bit. I think we've covered most of the main themes. And I do think, and I think this is going to happen a lot this season on Squanch Friends, as we're recording right after the episode airs, you're going to get to hear us kind of figure things out and kind of discover themes.
Yeah, this is as we're going along, figuring it out.
Yeah, so no one judge us. But anything else either of y'all noted that you wanted to talk about for this episode?
To kind of just put a period at the end of what we were just talking about. I mean, obviously, Nimbus comes in as the Deus Ex Machina at the end, which Rick was going to. So he kind of out Deus Ex Machinas himself, which, that was a cool moment. It felt funny, especially when he directs the whales to follow on all the people. I thought was cool. But then other than that, I liked when Jessica first is introduced and she comes up and goes, "Am I at the right house? I just saw a bunch of cops fucking on your lawn." That got a laugh out of me.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Yeah, that Nimbus was the Deus Ex Machina, and it's not often we see another character, let alone Rick's long-term nemesis, come and save the day.
Yeah, that's true.
With very little explanation of how he showed up in that world as well. Sean, guys, anything else that you noted in this episode you wanted to make sure we talked about?
I just want to say I love the moment where Summer blows the horn at the end, where Nimbus is beating up Rick, and she's like, "I have the horn." I think that's something great that Rick Moore does too. Is like this jumbled, like there's three people talking at once, but you can hear all of them, and you understand all the action, and there's like a lot going on at once, but you understand all of it. And it was very funny. And then she blows the horn, and Nimbus gets stronger and beats up Rick even more. I think it's always funny when Rick loses because he is so powerful. Even in this episode, I feel like it was like less deserved. I feel like other episodes, it's like, oh, good, Rick got what was coming to him. Like, I feel like that was way less in this episode, where it's like Rick was kind of just like hanging out. But I love that. I thought it was so funny.
And also to your point, he lost this time, but it's literally by the police. These mortals. These mortal
it's so funny
cops.
to see him get arrested. He's never been arrested. I love that.
Yeah, it's so practical and low stakes. Like, just gets like picked up, cuffed, and put in a car.
And he's just bloodied, and he looks defeated. But I guess Nimbus does control the police, but still.
If I know one thing in this world, I know that Mr. Nimbus controls the police.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know.
I'm sure of. Well, great. Well, so that's what we think of this episode, everyone. But we want to hear what you all have to think. So you can do that. We can do it many ways. You could send positive vibes. You could find us and give us handwritten letters. That's a lot of effort, though. The easiest thing you can do is email us or call us. So email us if you have any thoughts on this episode. We're going to get into this next week. Email us at squanch@wisecrack.co. That's squanch@wisecrack.co. No M, just CO. Or you can call us, which we would love, at 213-534-8807. That's 213-534-8807. From here on out, we will be hitting the mailbag, seeing what y'all have to say, breaking down the episodes together. But, you know, we're getting kind of in and out this time because it's the first episode and we don't have a full sack of letters and a full box of voicemails thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but do that. We want to hear from you. And, you know, if you have specific questions just for Sean Godsey, you know, just put that in the subject line. They can be about anything. So
That's right. And I encourage people to find me on the street and hand me letters.
Yeah. Well, we were going to get into this, like, you know, find Sean on the street. That's kind of your
try
mission
to find
between
me.
now and
I
next
challenge
episode.
you. Follow, you know,
He
try
dared you.
to. You can do whatever if you find me. But
Break
you gotta
the
find
law.
me first.
Find him. Well, that said, so we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch, if you want to find us individually, if you want to see what we think as we watch the episode again, maybe, and progress a little bit more, Ryan, where can people find you on the internet?
Follow me at Ryan's Game Show on Twitter and Ryan's Shorts on YouTube and Facebook and all the other places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sean Godsey, where can people find you, your work, your whereabouts on the internet?
That's right. You can find me at Scanned Life on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. I don't tweet that much, but I'm on there, and I create my own cartoons that you can see on those platforms.
I was about to say it to everyone.
If you think my criticisms of Rick and Morty are wrong, and you want to see what I make and criticize it, you can. It's there. It's there for you to criticize all you want.
So
create your own podcast about my cartoons.
You can start it. I highly recommend, though, everyone check out Scanned Life on Instagram and TikTok, where Sean Godsey has some really, really good animations and some fun drawings occasionally. You'll like it as well. You know, do this when you take a break from watching Ryan's Game Show on YouTube. You know, spread it around a little bit. If you want to get in touch with me in any way, shape, or form, it's Michael O. Burns on Twitter and Instagram. There's some underscores there. Also, just so you know, if you're enjoying this podcast, subscribe to it using whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts. Rate and review it. That's helpful for us. Make your review fun. Do something weird with it. You know what I mean? This isn't the time to be boring. And then you can also check out live streams of the Squanch on the Wisecasts channel. And if for any reason you haven't already checked it out, we did an episode with Tommy Cook previewing the season. It's all still relevant, so you could check that out as well. But in the meantime, that's it. This has been the Squanch.
Wow.
Season 5, Episode 1.
What an amazing episode.
We're back.
We're back,
Rick and
baby.
Morty's back. So we're out. Ryan, do you have anything you yell at this point?
I usually say something like, "Wubba-dubba-dub-dub" from Los Angeles, California, even though I'm in Austin right now.
Thank you for that. Ryan doxed himself for the podcast, and we
amazing.
appreciate it. This has been The Squanch. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.